How does one critique utilitarianism from a deontological or virtue ethics perspective? Utilitarianism is an ethical theory that focuses on the consequences of actions in determining what is morally right or wrong. However, this perspective has faced critiques from other ethical theories, including deontological ethics and virtue ethics. These theories offer different perspectives on what it means to be a morally good person and what actions are morally permissible or impermissible. Deontological ethics is an ethical theory that is centered on the idea of duty or moral obligation. According to this theory, certain actions are always wrong, regardless of their consequences. Deontologists believe that people have inherent rights and that certain actions, such as lying or stealing, are inherently wrong and should never be done, regardless of the consequences. One of the critiques of utilitarianism from a deontological perspective is that it can lead to the justification of actions that are inherently wrong. For example, a utilitarian might argue that it is morally justifiable to torture one person to obtain information that would save many lives. However, from a deontological perspective, torture is always wrong, regardless of its consequences. Another critique of utilitarianism from a deontological perspective is that it fails to account for the moral status of individuals. Utilitarianism is focused on promoting the greatest good for the greatest number of people, which can sometimes result in the sacrifice of the rights or well-being of individuals. Deontologists believe that individuals have inherent value and that their rights should not be sacrificed for the greater good. Virtue ethics is another ethical theory that critiques utilitarianism. Virtue ethics is focused on the idea of developing good character traits and living a morally good life. According to this theory, moral decisions should be based on what a virtuous person would do in a given situation. One critique of utilitarianism from a virtue ethics perspective is that it is too focused on the consequences of actions and does not take into account the character of the person making the decision. A virtuous person would not base their decisions solely on the consequences of an action, but would also consider whether the action aligns with their moral character and values. Another critique of utilitarianism from a virtue ethics perspective is that it fails to recognize the importance of moral motivation. Virtue ethicists argue that it is not enough to simply do what is morally right, but that the person making the decision should be motivated by a desire to do what is right. Utilitarianism, on the other hand, is focused on promoting the greatest good, regardless of the motivation behind the action. In conclusion, utilitarianism has faced critiques from other ethical theories, including deontological ethics and virtue ethics. These theories offer different perspectives on what it means to be a morally good person and what actions are morally permissible or impermissible. From a deontological perspective, utilitarianism can lead to the justification of actions that are inherently wrong, and can fail to recognize the moral status of individuals. From a virtue ethics perspective, utilitarianism is too focused on the consequences of actions and does not take into account the character of the person making the decision, or the importance of moral motivation. While utilitarianism provides a useful framework for ethical decision-making, it is important to consider these critiques and to incorporate other ethical perspectives into our moral reasoning.